Welcome to the Joy of Cooking podcast. Each week we gather around the table to share recipes and stories from the authors of Joy of Cooking. We talk kitchen victories and mishaps and what we are cooking and eating right now. We're glad you've joined us at the table today. I'm Sarah Marshall, owner of Marshall's Hot Sauce and producer of this podcast, and I'm filling in for Shannon this week. And I think I have a problem being easily influenced by Instagram. Like everything.
We all struggle with that a little bit. I'm Megan Scott, co-author of the 2019 edition of The Joy of Cooking. I'm a food editor by day and avoider of dish duty by night, and there are no fewer than 9 homemade sauces in my fridge at this moment.
Feel it.
I'm John Becker, 4th generation co-author and steward of The Joy of Cooking, America's oldest family-run cookbook. And I'm the kind of shopper who will accumulate at least 3 bunches of cilantro if I don't make a very specific list before I go.
Yeah, I feel like if you're at the grocery store and you don't have a list, or even if you do have a list, you're like, oh, I probably need cilantro too.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
And lemons or limes.
or lime, all of the above. And then we'll have like 2 bunches in the fridge. And
It's vibe shopping.
It's fine.
Luckily, you can always use those things.
Yeah,
They're easy to
I think
use.
you just add way more herbs to everything
Yeah.
than you need to.
Yeah.
Or like we have a couple of cilantro sauces in our repertoire that use up a whole bunch. So that's helpful.
I think your quality is not a bad quality, John. I think my quality needs help.
What were you influenced by?
Everything. I keep being influenced by everything. And then I'm like, I need to get off this app. And I'm not even on there that much, but I'll like see a restaurant and then I'll go there and I'll be like, I don't even want to be here. I didn't even want to be here. I just like saw it and then I'm here and then I don't want to be here. And then I'll like buy things and then I'm like, I didn't want this.
You know, you're the second person this week who's complained about Instagram restaurant reviews.
Yeah.
And I don't see very many people a week. So this must be a widespread phenomenon.
Well, I think too, like, I'm not sure if things have increased to where I'm getting like a lot of things that are like, you need this thing. And I think it's like for my age group, definitely. Like, you need this thing that's going to help your skin or your life or your whatever. And I'm like, okay. I think I do. You're right. Or I don't know. I need to like just not look at it. I think
it's lies.
I just wish there was a way to just see my friends. I just want to see my friends.
I know.
And I just want to be at the places they're at.
It's hard because now there's so many, like, there's just so many ads compared to the stuff that the people you actually follow, like their content. You don't see it as much. You see like 3 ads for one actual post that somebody did.
I feel like now I look at it and I'm like, I don't know. This is just garbage. Yeah. I don't even know any.
It's not
of these
improved.
people. I have to like go into like stories to even see anything of anybody I know.
Yeah.
This is the old man yells at cloud moment.
Okay.
For this podcast.
Well.
Done. What have you been cooking this week, Sarah?
Well, my daughter's sick, and so I made chicken noodle soup for her. But then what that meant for Dirk and I is that we could eat very spicy food, like the spiciest, which is how we want to do it. And usually, you know, if we make food for the family, I'll just make it like moderate spicy. You know, she can eat spicy food. But if I'm cooking just for Dirk and I'll make it like very spicy. So I made these tacos last night and I, used lots of our hot sauce, but then we had all these jars of pickled peppers and I pretty much put just all of them into it.
Whoa.
And it was delicious. It was so good. And then Dirk made me a leftover quesadilla because I did like chicken with peppers. And then Dirk made me leftovers today and it was equally, if not better. I like second day, because it got like even spicier. So it makes me excited when I get to eat things that are like exactly how I want them. When you become a parent, sometimes you like, it changes how you eat a little bit. Like I don't make special food for anybody, but it's not exactly how I want it. Mm-hmm. So this week I made it exactly how I wanted it and I was really happy.
I'm sure you're working gradually to get Adeline up to like spicy level.
She's rad. I mean,
she's gonna get there.
She eats so much great stuff. Like she loves like kale salad. She loves vegetables. She eats spicy food. She'll eat things off my plate knowing it's super spicy, knowing I've made my food really spicy. So it's like not that, but like, if I'm really cooking for myself, I'm just cooking differently than most anybody could have, like I can't even like cook that way for my friends that come over. They're like, that's too much.
I feel like John can relate to that. You've outspiced some friends before.
Well, on several levels. This week, I set out to make something, and it was a great success. And I just feel like, and I hadn't made it before, and I feel like that was, I don't know, it was super satisfying, and it fit, just fit my palate, really well. And was great. It was a Taiwanese beef noodle soup.
Oh, yum.
Yeah, so good.
Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah.
And it made so much, which was actually ended up being great because I've been eating it for days.
Yeah, same deal where it's like, the leftovers were awesome 2, maybe even 3 days. Yeah.
Yeah, it made a really gelatinous broth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, just so delicious.
Yeah.
The meat was so tender. Yeah.
The magic of beef shins.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, I think that's the nice thing. When you can just cook for yourself, it's just like a nice feeling.
Yeah, I agree.
You don't get it a lot when you're parents.
And you don't get it a lot when you're struggling, like when you shooting from the hip, I guess.
Or you just need to make food and,
Right.
you need it in a hurry and you haven't really planned for whatever reason.
Don't look at me like that.
What have you guys been cooking?
Well, other than the beef noodle soup, which was amazing, I got to make my dill pickle dip again for the first time. It's kind of a summer. It's not really a summer thing. You can make it anytime, but I just associate it with summertime. So I made my dill pickle dip. It's so good. It's so good. Every time I make it, I'm like, yeah, it is as good as I remember it being. But it's really simple. It's just like a combination of sour cream, mayo, chopped up dill pickles, dill pickle brine, and then I use the Trader Joe's dill pickle seasoning. But you can mix your own combination of like garlic, onion powder, all that kind of stuff. And it has fresh dill. I think that's it. But yeah, it's great with potato chips or whatever. It's fantastic.
Yum.
And then I got to try. So remember when we were talking with Becky Crystal about, tricks for not crying when you cut an onion?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I tried the match one and it worked.
Did it work?
And I don't understand why. Like you just put a match between your teeth.
John's not convinced.
I don't buy it.
Right there. You saw me do it.
I didn't have the match in my mouth.
Do you think it was just like her own willpower making it
I think
happen?
there
You don't
needs to
think
be-
it was the match?
We need to replicate these results. It needs to be cross-tested.
See, I just don't mind crying, but I wanted to try it and I think it really worked.
I'll just make a knife really, really dull, and then that will be the true challenge.
We should do it on the show. Like we could
Chop an
try it.
onion on the show.
We can try it with matches in our mouth and see what happens.
Okay. I'm down. We also did last night make our Joy Scouts recipe of the week, which was the beef and broccoli stir fry on page 462. It was delicious. We kind of have like a strange situation with steak. I'll explain. John's mom lives at an assisted living community and they have, like a dining hall. And so they have money that they kind of bank and they have to spend it in a month or it just goes away.
Yeah, it doesn't roll over.
And if they don't use it all, the kitchen will cook like sear steaks and just vacuum seal them and freeze them and give them to the residents. And so she will often pass her steaks on to us. So we just will have these like, they're like 6 ounce. I don't even know what cut it is. Do you know?
I think it's a sirloin. It only happened once, but those steaks have just been in the freezer for a while. So
So we used that and it was actually perfect for that recipe.
yeah, it was well portioned.
Yeah. But it turned out really well. The sauce was great. Yeah, highly recommend. It definitely has like a Chinese takeout vibe if you're wanting that. And it's really quick. I mean, it's stir fry, so it's incredibly quick to make. And
And that was one of our caller questions. So perfect recipe to pick.
yeah. Irma Rombauer believed that cooking should be joyful, and that philosophy changed the way America eats. Her great-nephew, Kerner, carried that same joy and generosity to Napa Valley, founding Rombauer Vineyards in 1980. The winery was built on the same belief that made the cookbook a classic, that good food and wine should bring people together. And just as the joy of cooking has been in American kitchens for nearly a century, today Rombauer is one of California's most celebrated wineries and the perfect pairing for every meal you cook from the book. Your next favorite pairing is waiting at rombauer.com/joy. Use code JOYPOD, that's JOYPOD, all caps, for 15% off your order. That's ROMBAUER.com/joy and use code JOYPOD at checkout.
Must be 21 to enjoy.
We would like to welcome Claudette Zepeda to the table. Claudette Zepeda is an award-winning San Diego-based chef and culinary entrepreneur known for her fearless style and bold approach to regional Mexican cuisine. A celebrated culinary anthropologist, Zepeda draws upon 20-plus years of experience working in restaurant kitchens, as well as her extensive travels around the world and throughout Mexico to inform her vast knowledge of indigenous ingredients and cross-cultural expressions of cuisine. Claudette, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I kept wanting to interrupt you. Be like, I do that too.
What have you been cooking this week that you're excited about?
I made chicken shawarma for my kids yesterday. So getting them to eat, I mean, they're 23 and 21, but still getting them to eat even like a raw red onion cucumber salad is, it takes really an act of higher deities than myself, but it's, yeah, that one was really, really good. We're creatures of habit. So we always eat the same thing. Yesterday's chicken shawarma was breaking our norm, and that was fantastic.
That sounds so good. How'd you cook the meat?
I use chicken shawarma spices. So I use all of the warm spices that you would do in like in a lamb shawarma, but I did seared chicken in a stainless steel pan.
Yum. That sounds so good. We always record this show at 5:30 p.m. Pacific, and it's just about the time when I start to get really hungry, and then we all talk about this amazing food that we're all eating.
I always think too the part where our guests have to sit and listen to us. Like I think they want to be part of the conversation so bad, but it's like you have to warm up to us a little bit, I guess, and know that you have to get used to us. I think sometimes people, when we had them jump in right away too, they'd get really nervous.
Oh no, I was just like, I have ADHD, so if I don't see it, it doesn't exist. So of course I buy all the cilantros over and over again. My pantry has at least 10 bottles of soy sauce. It's just like, I always think, I don't have any. I'm that mom.
I see you.
I will say too, your Instagram is one of the Instagrams that comes up that I love to see. It comes up in my stories, and you post so much fun stuff. Everything that you put up, it makes me laugh. It makes me smile. So thank you for not trying to make me buy things I don't need.
Trust me, I am a victim of the algorithm as well. So, yeah, I try to keep my Instagram to show all the parts of me, and I call it stream of consciousness posting, where sometimes it's an intrusive thought that I don't need to post. Why am I sharing it? But I just hit the share button and it's on. It just happens.
I love people who post their intrusive thoughts, to be perfectly honest. Claudette, do you have a signature dish, like something that you feel extremely proud of, and that, you know, if someone invited you to a potluck, you would be like, oh yeah, I'm going to make this thing?
There are two dishes that I've become known for. And I always said that I never wanted to have like a signature dish. Everyone wants one at a restaurant, you know, and every time I open a restaurant, it's like, well, what's the signature dish of the house? It's like, I don't want it to be put in a box, but funny enough, and I'm proud of these dishes, don't get me wrong. But the two dishes that I have become known for is birria, which is like the viral birria recipe in 2020 of Food and Wine, and the amount of businesses that spawned of birria during the pandemic, and aguachiles. Those are, I think, such an indication of where I grew up, like geographically. But since I started experimenting with what aguachiles could possibly be in 2015, they've really kind of paved the way of how people know me. Today, one of my friends from Houston texted me. He goes, I'm riffing on your strawberry red pepper aguachile. Very few times do people not like say my name when they post their strawberry aguachile, but I definitely, it's like, it comes from somewhere, and I'm really proud of the aguachile creations I've created.
Well, it's strawberry season.
I know. I was going to say, I was like,
we're about ready to.
Where can we find, is that recipe available anywhere?
Yeah. So I've been fortunate enough to have 3 Food and Wine magazine features. Nice. And the second feature was, I think it's 8 recipes, through 8 different aguachile recipes, all aguachile. Yeah, the black garlic, my carrot, which was the first one, and my strawberry pepper is on there.
Yum. Yeah, that sounds so good. Is it like a shrimp aguachile, or is it something else?
Well, I always consider aguachile as the broth, right? Like it's indicative of the name of like agua and chile. So from there, it's a choose your own adventure. In that feature, I talk about the origins aguachile, which is actually started with beef, dry beef, machaca style in the desert of Sonora. But you could do it with tuna, you could do it with shrimp, you could do it with sea bass. Really, it's depending on where you are in the States and what comes, you know, what you have readily available. We're in San Diego, so I can walk literally from my office. I'm maybe 3 blocks from the harbor dockside on Saturdays, where
amazing.
I can get the vessels into my plate. So as long as the broth is really good, then I talk about how you can season whatever seafood you use.
Yeah, I was really fascinated reading that in your book about how the original aguachile was with beef. Could you talk just a little bit about that?
Yeah, so aguachiles are from the state of Sonora, and if you know the state and how it hugs both the desert and the Gulf of California, so that it has several different microclimates. But it's also like cattle capital between Sonora and Texas, obviously, and you have the state of Monterrey. That's where all of our Mexican cattle is raised, and the cowboys come from that part of the world, and the meat would get dried out on hangers, and that was what the cowboys, the beef jerky they would carry in their pouches as they went from one ranch to another, and so they would break it up on a molcajete or on a stone, and they would make either, machaca, what we know to be machaca with eggs and breakfast and the, salsa de pico, and or they would make their aguachiles with just squeezing a bunch of limes, get that dry beef, add some peppers. Chiltepin is like the mother pepper of all the Americas, and that chili was grown wild next to the Sierra Madres. Like that is one of the most spiciest chiles we have. So the cowboys would it was very simple. It was salt, chiltepin, and lime juice, and that was their snack. And from there, as it started migrating, as everything does and humans do, as it migrated to the Gulf, Valle de Quino has some of the best scallops you'll ever see you'll ever eat in your entire life, and it's callo de hacha. It's called, basically, it looks like the head of an axe. Sorry, my ESL starts crossing when I'm saying two different languages. The shell of the callo de hacha looks like a head of an axe. And that scallop was the first iteration of it having seafood. And then we started doing shrimp, and we started really playing with it. But the bones of it started with beef, and the bones of it is really just lime juice, salt, some sort of chile, and if you want to get fancy, red onions and cucumbers.
Amazing. That makes, okay. Everything we're talking about just sounds so delicious to me.
We're hungry.
I know. Gotta stop it. What to you characterizes border cuisine? So in your book, you kind of divide it and you go from west to east along the border. But what do you think unites border cuisine?
I think the humans. I think that it's an arbitrary line in the sand that was drawn by men. You stay on this side and you stay on that side, but food doesn't understand that. And the food, people travel from continents and leave their homes with seeds in their pouches and bras. And so food doesn't understand lines in the sand. So I think what unites all of the borderlands is an understanding of their, it's a time and place. It's very, very smoke driven. It's very grill driven. It's very utilitarian, do a lot with very little. And that's, I think it's also indicative of the human beings that can sustain their families in the borderlands. It is dry. It is politically charged, often villainized. And so we become pawns on both sides of the countries, or on both sides of the line. But I think what makes the borderlands delicious, and it's from 1452 to today, there are thousands of different cultures that hit that line in the dirt. And for some reason or another, they either get stuck on one side or make it to the other side. But their family and what they bring with them and the flavors that they know when they have to assimilate to a different land has made our food in the history of our country really, really beautiful. So whether or not you're in the United States or you're in Mexico, that was why it was really important for me on the book to write between the States and Mexico, not between America and Mexico, because I want to recognize that it is an entire continent that the rest of the world calls America. It's the people. One of my favorite things, I've been researching it for over a decade. I've been living it my entire life as a border human being, which is why one of the first chapters is Off My Matriarch's Hips, and the recipes aren't from the border per se, but the dishes are from my childhood, from my home, and my family is from the state of Jalisco, and they migrated north, but also traveled all around. And what ended up in Tijuana by the time I was born was my house was full of flavors of the entire Republic of Mexico, and of all of the people and the color and the languages and the smells that have made up my parents, as my dad immigrated to LA in the 60s. So it's a very unique perspective of human beings that people aren't curious enough about the borderlands, I should say.
Mm-hmm. As I was looking through your book, I just kept thinking about, I'm probably going to butcher this, but there is a concept in biology where, there is much greater biodiversity in border areas. So where like a meadow runs up against the woods. and you have a meeting of these two habitats, and you have a much greater biodiversity because of that. And I was just thinking about that in terms of the food, because there are so many different influences, and the food is so unexpected and so vibrant and so interesting that I think the interplay of cultures really kind of drives that kind of, it's like a type of innovation. It's like people have moved from one place to another, but they're not blank slates. Like they have all of this history, all of this culture and family and tradition behind them, and they move to this new place, and maybe they're working with different ingredients and they can't get some of the things they used to be able to get. So they improvise and innovate, and you have this entirely new cuisine that's born from all of that.
Yeah, because food is comfort, right? So we want to cook our food, but we have to realize that we're no longer in our quote unquote home and make do. And that's the brilliance of it. That's why I've always had kind of a trigger word for me is fusion, because I don't see our world and our cuisine as fusion. They're really marriages. And I love that the ecosystem analogy, like that is exactly what it is. Together, we're the greater sum of all parts. Like we're just more delicious when we hang out together at the table.
I agree. I love what you wrote. I can't remember what chapter it was in, but you used the phrase, the borderless culture of the borderlands, because I think one of the things you're trying to emphasize in this book is that there may be this, physical border, but culture doesn't work that way, and humans don't really work that way either. And so you can draw this line, but it really doesn't say anything about the human beings that are kind of cooking and eating and gossiping and hanging out in that place. So I really liked that way of thinking about it.
And Megan and John have an advanced copy of your book, but it actually doesn't come out until June 2nd, but people can pre-order it. And then please
Yes,
pre-order it. That helps authors so much. I have it pre-ordered through our local bookstore, but I wanted to know if you had plans on going on a book tour, and then specifically, are you coming to Portland at all? If you know that.
I am going on a book tour. Currently, it's a very intense book tour. The first leg of it, there's gonna have to be several legs of it. The first one is Chicago, San Diego, New York, LA, Nashville, but in every single one of those cities, there's multiple spots that I'm doing. Like New York, there's 3 days on one week and then 2 days on the next. And then Chicago, it's 2 events, San Francisco, 3. So June I'm not home from the 30th all the way to the 22nd or 26th of June. But I want to hit the Pacific Northwest. I want to go to Seattle. I want to go to Oregon. I want to hit more of Texas, because I can't do a book about the borderlands and not go to Texas. But yes, all of that is coming. My team I've been challenging them with how much we can do. And they're like, well, you're the one doing it. So if you want to kill yourself on this tour, go nuts. But because of when it comes out, because it comes out in June and a lot of people leave for summer, we are splitting it up. And I think it's perfect with the midterms. So we're going to do one in June and then follow up with the second leg of the tour in like September, October.
Nice. Please come to Portland if you are able. We would love to see you. We have a cute cookbook store here.
I love Portland.
I wanted to ask you about your corn tortilla recipe, because as I was reading through it, I realized there's a technique in there I'm not familiar with, which is you make like a tomatillo husk water and you use that as the water in the tortillas. Can you talk a little bit about that? Yeah,
so it is one of the oldest grandma's tricks in all of Mexico. And I've used it my entire life. I didn't know it's weird or odd or brilliant, because it was just so secondhand for me until I made the video for Food Network, and it went viral immediately. I chop up my words because I try to explain what it is. And honestly, I didn't understand the science behind it, because again, my mother did it, my grandmother did it. But the pH, because it's a gooseberry, and that sticky residue that stays in your hands when you wash tomatillos, it's chemical. So you're having this chemical reaction which softens the dough. So it's a natural dough softener, but it also helps the elasticity of the tortilla, and it helps for you to get that proper aeration. So you're pretty much cheat coding the puff. And again, my editor and all of the editing team was like, we have to figure out why it happened. So you need to give me a scientific reason. The reason in there is just like, I had to research, okay, but I'm sure it's a pH because I have pastry background, blah, blah, blah. But really is just like, it's one of those things that I always was like, I don't need to know why it works. I just know it works.
Yeah, Grandma said it works. Yeah. It works.
They didn't like when I said that. So then I had to hit the Google machine and figure out exactly why.
It's reminding me of this other awesome little thing you have in there. It's like, if your grandmother did it differently, just know that she's right and I'm wrong.
Oh my God.
I thought that was a perfect, preemptive criticism dodging kind of thing.
That's it. The amount of people that are never going to come out from every part of the border saying, you forgot this, you missed this, what about this? That's not how we do it. Listen, I choose my battles. Those aren't ones I choose.
Yeah. Not fighting with grandma.
No.
So Rombauer Vineyards is sponsoring today's episode. And honestly, I've been wanting to talk about them because they just released a fresh vintage of their Sauvignon Blanc, and it's quickly become my go-to white wine as we head into the warmer months. It's refreshing and vibrant, exactly what you want when the sun is out. I've been having it with asparagus with orange and hazelnuts, and I mean, it just works perfectly.
And okay, if you're planning on firing up the grill soon, let me tell you about their Zinfandels. They just released their 2023 vintage, and it's bold, juicy, and has real depth. The kind of wine that just belongs with good food and good company. Something like grilled marinated octopus with shaved fennel and white bean salad comes to mind, but it's so versatile.
Head to rombauer.com/joy and use code JOYPOD. That's JOYPOD, all caps, for 15% off. That's ROMBAUER.com/joy and use code JOYPOD at checkout.
Must be 21 to enjoy.
So you talk about how certain flavors in borderland dishes are kind of dialed up, which helps distinguish them from dupes that have been popularized and adapted in other parts of the country. Could you give some examples of just like certain flavors that get amped up that define a borderland dish and set it apart from like how it would be made somewhere else?
I always kind of go back to describing like when I eat ceviches or something as simple as a guacamole, right? Like guacamole is a mole. So when people think of like, oh, I want to learn how to make a mole, I was like, great, can you make guac? Like that's where the root of the word, etymology of the word of the Aztecs, and now that's what was the first mole was guac. In the border, it started with the amount of, since you have biodiversity, you have those hot climates, even in the South in the United States, people eat more salt. And so you would go through the desert because it's a form of self-preservation. You sweat more, so you keep your, cells good so you don't dehydrate. So when you have a ceviche, something as simple as a ceviche or an aguachile, a guacamole, it has more salt, more acid than you normally would have somewhere else, just because we're accustomed to it. And our hand, we say in Spanish is la mano pesada. We have a heavier hand with it. And the salt that we use is sea salt. So it's like coarse, and we don't grind it up. It's coarse and it slowly melts, and that salinity melts slowly. And it's sort of like, Maldon has the same effect. It's a lighter salt. So it's not like your table salt where it hits you and then your palate's shot. The sea salt that we use in Mexico, sal de Colima or salt from the Gulf, it's milder. So the salinity is really beautiful, floral almost. And so in ceviches are my first indication that someone doesn't understand the border or like the northern part, Baja. If they give me a ceviche, one with stale lime juice or lemon juice, immediately I know if they juiced that yesterday. You can't fake it. And in Tijuana or in Baja, all of Baja, you make fresh juice of all of your citruses for your ceviche, and the next day, no respectable, even home cook will serve day-old ceviche. And so those are like your telltale signs, even if we have to make it a la menu, because if it's good fish, you can make a ceviche similar to an aguachile, just dress and go so you can eat it fast. But I think the biggest indication that you don't understand us are those two things, a ceviche and a guacamole, because it should have plenty of acid, should cut through the fat, and it should be salty enough to withstand if you add tomatoes to it, if you had, onions to it. But just a plain guacamole with salt and lime juice, it should be vibrant. Everything should just taste more like themselves.
Speaking of guacamole, the recipe that you include in the book has that pureed zucchini in it. That sounded really interesting. Was wondering if you could maybe talk a little bit about how the zucchini ended up in there.
It's my riff on the salsa taquera from like the taco shops across Mexico. You'll see a green salsa blended up, and people will think it's a guac salsa, that it's like avocados, but it's a hack that they use to stretch out something that, avocados can get really expensive, even in Mexico. So taqueros have been doing this hack my entire life, so I don't know exactly how far before that. but it gives the creaminess, it gives that vibrant green color, and it's just like it's biohacking something that the eyes are familiar with, and it's subtle enough that your palate doesn't know the difference, but you can really stretch out what a guac was going to be to what a guac could be if you feed 10 people or 30.
Amazing. I really want to make that now.
Yeah, I am filing that away.
Yeah. And I do love that texture that zucchini can get. It can get kind of like creamy and silky. Yeah, that just sounds so good. I love zucchini. John is not as much of a zucchini.
Jeez, why are you calling
I'm
me
sorry.
out?
I don't want to throw you under the bus.
Whatever.
Just put lime and salt on it, John.
Yeah.
Blend it up and you won't even know it's there.
One Trick Pony is flipping the peanut butter aisle upside down, literally. They make ridiculously good peanut butter with just 2 ingredients: organic Argentinian peanuts and salt. No palm oil, no added sugar, and no ingredients you can't pronounce. Their custom jars are designed to sit upside down on the shelf, so when you open one for the first time, you're not dealing with that thick layer of oil on top. Instead, the oil settles at the bottom, making the natural peanut butter easier to stir. Simple ingredients, smarter jar, better peanut butter. To learn more or shop online, visit One Trick Pony. That's OneTrickPonyNuts.com. And if you sign up for email, you'll get 15% off your first order. I'm partial to the crunchy peanut butter and caramel crunch peanut butter popcorn. You can also find One Trick Pony nationwide at Target, Sprouts Farmers Market, The Fresh Market, and select Whole Foods Market locations.
With you having run like high-end restaurants and being in these like cooking competitions, like how do you keep the soul of your cooking and who you are when you're like competing in these like commercial marketplaces that the food industry can be?
I think it is understanding. I've always had my feet very firmly planted on the ground, and I've been very blessed to have been raised very proud of where I come from. And like for us, even as a child, when people would say, "Where are you from?" I would immediately say Mexico. I didn't understand what, having to specify, well, I was born here, but I'm Mexican. Like that was always my reaction. We only spoke Spanish in my household because my grandmother didn't speak English, and it's rude to speak a different language when someone doesn't understand. So I think I was set up for success in that respect when I was a child, of understanding that you're not too good for rice and beans. And no matter, I had a very Charles Dickens-like childhood. It was the best of times and worst of times. And sometimes when it was the worst of times, we eat rice and beans every day. And I loved it. And it's so much of a staple of who we are as a country. And in my family, like there's always beans either on the stove or right in the refrigerator, usually in a container that is not beans identified, the sour cream container, a butter container, something camouflaged. And I have young adult children, and I've been a single mother. They're 23 years in the hood called mother. And I get home and their favorite meals are enchiladas, albóndigas, like the food that I grew up with, and picolada. So I don't think it's even a conscious choice. I just don't think there's any other option for me to. Yeah, I just think we're such a beautiful culture. I've never been ashamed. And I know that it's a thing. First generation cooks, even second generation cooks, especially if they don't speak Spanish, to have the stigma of making Mexican food is below us because it's the food. And that is just kind of like, for lack of a better word, it's colonizer mentality of like they whitewashed us and pushed us into assimilation so far that we are now embarrassed. And I have never felt that one day in my entire life. So I'm very grateful for my parents and my children. I have heavy weights on my ankles to make sure that I'm always true to myself.
You kind of write about that in the book. There's a passage where you're talking about using a molcajete instead of a food processor. And you say, remember where you came from, or that's like what you are thinking about when you're using a molcajete, even though there's a way to make it faster or maybe more convenient, whatever. But using that tool kind of grounds you and connects you to your ancestors and the people in your family who taught you how to cook. And I just love that idea because it's a really powerful way to like center yourself in the kitchen and like to slow down and to remember.
Yeah. If you know the biology between two lands merging, you understand like that energy that comes from the earth never really goes away. And you have this thing that was hand carved. My molcajete is from my mom and dad's wedding in 1989. It was hand carved by the brother of the woman that made the pozole at my aunt's restaurant. So it's imbued with so much beautiful energy that I can't help but grab the metate and feel like that is exactly where I need to be in that moment. And it is therapeutic. It has a rhythm that you have to do. You don't just bash the rock against rock. And that motion, it's the same way that I feel when I'm washing laundry also outside. Like it's this weird repetitive motion that your DNA remembers, even though it wasn't, sometimes they're not even our memories, but we just remember. And that's what we need to kind of always understand. And I always say thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like those manual tasks can really put you into like a flow state where you're doing something with both hands, you're busy, and your mind can kind of be free. And it's just John has expressed this with cooking caramelized onions, because you just got to stand there and stir the onions for like 45 minutes and there's nothing you can do about it. But yeah, I think finding those tasks that make you feel grounded and connected are really important to developing and fostering like a love of cooking.
Absolutely.
I wanted to hit on, there's a chapter in your book where you talk a lot about the Chinese influence in Mexicali in particular, but could you talk a little bit more about that? Because this wasn't something I was aware of at all, and I'm fascinated, and now I want to cook all of those recipes because they sound delicious. But also just, could you talk about the history of the Chinese influence that is in some Mexican cuisine?
Yeah, it's my goal one day is to be able to do my own show and show the other side of Mexico that's never been seen in the media. And one of my favorite parts that I grew up going to is Mexicali and La Chinesca, which is like the Chinatown in Mexicali. Mexicali is the east border. It borders up with Calexico. So right before you hit Arizona, you're going to go. It's about 3 hours from here. So you have Tijuana, San Diego, Otay, San Diego, and then you have Mexicali and Calexico. And Mexicali is, 110 degrees in the shade in the summer. And when the railroads were being built in the United States, we used Chinese labor. And the Chinese labor finished, and we started this thing called the Chinese Exclusion Act. And when that act was started, basically every Chinese human being, they couldn't go home. Like, where are you going to go when you're in a different continent, right? So what did they do? They went where they felt they were safest, so they headed south. So from San Francisco, all the Chinese people that were in the northern part of California during the gold rush, the railroads on the west side, head south. So you have the same influence in like in Louisiana, wherever people, if they were on north building the train tracks, they went south. So in the West in particular, in the early 1900s, there was 50 Chinese immigrants to one Mexican in Mexicali. Because again, it was desert, so it wasn't really habitable. We didn't want to live there. And they were, you get in where you fit in, and they felt safe there. So they started lives there. There's La Chinesca is some of the best Chinese food, Sichuan Cantonese food that you can get. I think aside from being in the Canton and Sichuan province, like you can get it in that part. And they have kept their families, like they're all first generation, second generation, third generation Chinese Mexican, but they marry only Chinese, but they just happen to be Mexican citizens. They speak better Spanish than I do. And, but they assimilated to our ingredients, right? So you get this merger of cultures, and we borrowed their ingredients for our food. And that's when you see my play of the pantry that I grew up in. I eat white rice almost every day, white rice or sometimes butter garlic rice, which is what I made in the book with the corn. But we were a big white rice family and a big like a white butter or soy sauce rice family. And it's because we were in Tijuana. It's what we knew, it's what we liked. It was our celebration. Christmas Eve, we have tamales. We have Chinese food similar to like Jewish tradition of having, Chinese on 25th. I think there were several points in history where it got more dense and more dense. And, the Chinese Exclusion Act, then World War II, then you had the internment camps, then you had before that, you had the Mexican-American War. And the Mexican-American War was Mexico told the Chinese immigrants, well, if you're going to be here, you're going to help us fight against the Americans. The Chinese, being docile human beings, said, no, that doesn't sound like fun. And they went underground. So La Chinesca has an entire underground city in the desert where you can get your hair cut, you can get your newspaper, your nails done, your daycare, schools, all underground. So yeah, I can speak about La Chinesca forever, but huge parts in history made it be one of the most densest, richest part of Chinese-Mexican history.
That's amazing. I love hearing about the history of that. And I I want to make those recipes, especially the one I have earmarked to make next is the orange chicken made with chamoy because the photo just looks amazing, but it sounds so good. And it's such a brilliant twist to use the chamoy in that recipe.
Yeah, I tried to do semi-homemade meals. It's like if you have chamoy, you can make it yourself, go nuts, but you can use store-bought chamoy if you have a good chamoy where you're from, or make a big-ass batch of it and then put it in the refrigerator and make it lots of things.
Nice. Do you have any other favorite, beyond like using it with fruit, do you have any other favorite ways of using chamoy if you want to make a big batch of it?
I do it in desserts. I could do like a chamoy caramel where you kind of mix together the two sour and the goat milk caramel and you mix it together. Like I get that with the chamoy and it makes this like sweet and sour kind of combination. I eat it on my gummy candies. I roll around my like Haribo gummies on the chamoy and then do tajín, and that is, we can put it on everything. We joke that we do, and we pretty much do.
That sounds like it would be really good with your volcano sparkle.
Oh,
Sarah.
yeah. Spicy.
Speaking of the photography in your book, it's really phenomenal. I love how you described it as Southwest Anderson. Southwest Anderson. Yeah, the taquito candelabra crowned with the flaming chilies is really going to stick with me for a while. Please tell us about that.
My poor team. So the first day, it's my first book and no one prepares you for what it's going to be to take the book, take the pictures. The answer that I got from all my chef friends was like, oh, everyone's different. You do you. And I was like, that wasn't giving me anything. So I went in flying a little blind. But I had the support of my publishing team to be like, fly your freak flag. And I remember the first day was very safe, was very like top down, and I was like not happy with it. And I was texting my Tyler Florence, who is one of my like phone of friends, very, very huge like champion of me. And he would send me even like the Pantone sites of like, this is the color that you're like, unbeknownst to you, you're following this palette. And I'm like, okay, all right. He goes, let go. And I was like, okay. The next day, we rented a studio in LA and the prop wall was full of random props. And there was a candelabra on the top shelf. And I grabbed it, and my prop stylist, Jacqueline, bless her heart, she had her whole table set up of all these things that she had rented. And I just look at her and I'm holding it like this. And I was like, she almost had like single tear running down her eye going, she just says no. Like no other words. She just goes, no. And I looked at her and I was like, oh yes, we're doing this. Come with me. This is going to be a journey. And my photographer team, David Alvarado and Jason Sutherland, were like, hell yeah, let's do it. And I was like, I can't. There's only so many pictures. You can Google taquitos and it's millions and millions of hits. You can Google enchiladas. I don't need to show anyone at this point what an enchilada looks like or what a taquito looks like. But how rad would it be to really let my freak flag fly and stick it in a candelabra? And some of the most influential movies in my life were definitely Beetlejuice and definitely Death Becomes Her. So it was just like, I'm going to do this like Beetlejuice when like this Delia slash like Wednesday Addams vibe slash all of these things. And it worked.
It worked. The photos are amazing. The colors are just beautiful. And the food looks great too.
Thank you.
There was another picture in there, like I think it was for the 1940s nacho.
Oh, yeah.
Where you're holding up a...
Poltergeist.
Okay.
We were trying to figure it out.
I was like, is this a Cronenberg?
So it's like Poltergeist, and also, do you remember, this is like, I mean, we're all probably 80s, 90s kids. The Simpsons were like the E pluribus unum, the all-seeing eye, like comes out and it's like alive and it's hypnotizing people. I'm like, there's no way that one person can ever eat one nacho. So there has to be some so I started kind of riffing on that. And there was a TV that was also on the shelf. And I was like, I wonder. And then Jason, the assistant of photography, went to Best Buy to grab a cable so we could transmit the image or unimage to the TV. I mean, we really nerded out, but it's essentially the dollar all-seeing eye, Illuminati eye, plus Poltergeist.
Amazing.
I love that because I feel like you really come through in the book because anytime that I've seen you, you always look stylish. You have a look, you have a vibe, and your book has to represent you. It can't just be top-down shots. That's boring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hello. I just wanted to take a moment to tell you about an easy way to enhance your meals. Whether they are a healthy vegan grain bowl or that late-night snack we'll pretend didn't happen the next day, and that easy way is Marshall's Hot Sauce. For 15 years, chef and cookbook author Sarah Marshall has been hand-making and bottling these delicious sauces. She works directly with local farmers and highlights the lovely flavors of fresh seasonal produce. They're gluten-free, there are no additives, dyes, waxes, or binders, and they have mouth-watering combinations like serrano ginger lemongrass, or habanero carrot curry, or even whiskey smoked ghost, which was featured on Hot Ones. So head on over to marshallshotsauce.com, that's Marshall's, HAUTESAUCE.com, and see all the available sauces and spice blends. Oh, that's right. Sarah's created spice packets by dehydrating and freeze-drying actual produce, so you can impart flavor into your food with more vegetables. But that's a story for another day. Find all of these delicious creations at marshallshotsauce.com and enter HOTJOY, that's one word, capital H, AUTE, capital JOY, one word, at checkout for 20% off. That's HOTJOY at checkout for 20% off. And now, back to the show.
So every week we answer a caller question, and this week we're talking about sleeper recipes. Dirk, can you please read the question?
Hi, this is Kimberly from Marietta, Georgia. 1. What has been your most surprising takeaway from the podcast, and who is your dream guest? 2. What is the one recipe in the book that you each think is a sleeper and everyone should know about it? Your enthusiasm for and appreciation for good food is contagious. Joy of Cooking is my favorite cooking podcast. It literally brings me joy. I learned to cook when I was 10 by following along in an old copy that was left in a rental house we were living in. I wasn't allowed to take that particular copy when we moved, but I have since collected several editions of The Joy of Cooking and still cook from many of the recipes with enthusiasm and by heart.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that question. That's really lovely. I mean, this shouldn't be surprising in terms of a takeaway from the podcast, but what's always surprising to me is that almost everybody has a joy story, and they're usually really good. And it just feels like, I mean, we should be expecting that at this point. Like when we were on book tour, we heard so many people's stories. But yeah, it always surprises me when people have the warm fuzzies for joy, and that's how I feel about it.
Yeah,
but
it's probably because we work from home and don't get out much.
it's true. Yeah, we don't talk to anyone. That's not true.
I think that my most surprising thing that fits with that is just like, because I see all the caller questions and comments come in, seeing where they're from. It's like, even though, yeah, it's a podcast and you realize that like people are all over, but then I'm like, oh, someone in Australia is listening. Like that's wild to me, because it's like, especially being here with you guys all the time. It's like, you know, we hang out with our buddies, and it feels very much like when we're here recording, it feels just very much like us hanging out. Like I forget that even other people are listening. Like we'll have our guest and I'm like, oh yeah, it's Claudette. Like that's cool. But then I forget that people all over are listening. So that's like the surprising thing, is that I just feel like we're having a conversation with a friend. And then I'm like, then when somebody writes in, I'm like, where are they from? Oh my goodness, that's insane. So that's the most surprising thing to me.
Do you have one? Do you have a takeaway, John?
Yeah, pretty much. Wait, no, I don't really I don't have a takeaway. Try to ignore. I have blinders on. That's the only way I'm able to do this podcast.
Heard. Thank you for your honesty. Now we'll go to dream guest. I'm just going to say it because I've said it before. My dream guest is Kyle McLaughlin, and we're going to try to get him on the show for next season. We're going to go for it.
That's your dream guest.
What about you? Do you have a dream guest?
I want to have all of our moms on together.
Oh, that would be
as
so
like
fun.
A timestamp. Like, you know, I mean, I always realize like with any of our moms have any health things, I'm like, you know, time is precious. And I just think they all love us so much. And when that is who I always think would be our biggest listeners and fans is our mothers, you know? And so I just think it would be cool to have them all on together, because they'll probably never actually all be in the same room. So this would be like a cool way, I think, to do it. So that's my dream guest.
We can make that happen, probably.
Why not?
Do you have a dream guest, John?
I don't know. I think it would be great to have Harold McGee on. He actually did contribute to the 2006 edition. Somebody famous has been following us on Instagram, and so I'm just going to put it out there that I hope that Gillian Welch comes on the podcast.
That's been kind of crazy. I wore my collards and cornbread t-shirt, which is from Bitter Southerner, and they did Bitter Southerner is a magazine, and they ran an article on Gillian Welch, who is one of my favorite. I really love like folk music, and she's one of my favorites. And I think I don't know if she saw me post something on Joy of Cooking, and then she started following us. And then I've been having conversations with her in our DMs. Ooh. And she's super nice. And she's like, here's my copy of Joy of Cooking. And here's what I made. I made this pie. And like, I learned how to cook out of it. And so now I'm just like, I can't. At first I was like, this is not her. This is somebody running her account. And then I was like, oh my God, it's her. And so we've just been having these lovely conversations. That's been kind of wild. Like, I don't know. I don't really just feel like I deserve that kind of access to her, but I'm so happy that I have it.
Claudette, do you have anybody that you would want to come to your restaurant or cook from your book? What's your dream guest?
I have so many, but I think when I read that question, because this book is such a love letter to my cinephile heart, Guillermo del Toro is up there. He left Mexico. He doesn't live in Mexico anymore. But he always talks about, how much he loves food and how he misses like those mom cooked meals. And as a cinephile / emo, horror fan, I just want to cook for him. I just want to make Mexican food for him. And I became friendly thanks to social media with Kate Hawley, the costume director for all of his movies, but Frankenstein, she won an Oscar for Frankenstein. So I'm slow to get onto set for Phantom of the Opera. I was like, I will bake coffee. I will, I'll pick up your dry cleaning. Because I think in another life, I was definitely a costume mistress somewhere. So I'm trying to merge the two worlds. And if I could cook for Guillermo del Toro and be a fly on the wall while he directs a movie and see the process, it's probably one of the biggest dreams of my life.
That's a good pick.
That is a really good pick. I feel like you can probably make that happen. I'm just going to say that. I'm going to put that good energy out there.
We believe in you.
All right. For sleeper recipes, John, I want to hear yours first.
Well, it's, as we just said, it's strawberry season. So strawberries cockaigne. It's a sleeper, and it doesn't really involve any cooking. It's just you dip some strawberries in sour cream and brown sugar, and it's delicious, and it should be recognized by everybody as a superior fruit snack.
Strawberries, cream, and sugar?
Sour cream. So you dip the strawberries in the sour cream, and then you coat them with the brown sugar. Yeah. No, it's great.
Oh, I've been eating that my entire life.
Really?
Fresas con crema.
Oh, yeah. Fresas con crema.
I approve.
Obviously, it's more widely consumed than I thought.
Well, the particular way your grandma, because that was one of your grandma's favorite things.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. She was a really big strawberry lover, but she was also allergic to strawberries. So she would eat them anyways when they were in season, in spite of that, because she loved them so much. And that was one of her favorite ways of eating them. And then could you explain a little bit about the recipe title for that one? It's strawberries cockaigne. What does cockaigne mean?
That was her home. So all of the recipes she developed in this one house. The house is called Cockaigne. They even had a little stationery for it, where it's, I don't know, it's this mythical land of plenty. It's what the house is named after.
Yeah, Cockaigne. A lot of people over the years have emailed us or asked us, what does this mean? Is it cocaine? It's no, it's not. But that's funny. My sleeper recipe is, I just realized now that this sounds like I'm bragging, but it's my recipe for cornbread on page 631. There are so many good recipes in Joy, but this one is one I feel really proud of because as a Southerner, I feel like you kind of have to come into your own cornbread recipe. My grandmothers everyone in my family makes it a little differently. And so I had to figure out my own way of making it. It's originally developed to use a coarser cornmeal because at one time, the best cornmeal we could get, I think we were living in a really a food desert basically. And we could get Bob's Red Mill cornmeal, but their cornmeal's really gritty. It's honestly not my favorite. So what I would do is I would soak it in boiling water I would soak it in the morning, let it sit all day, and then I would finish making the cornbread right before dinner. And that soaking process turns the cornbread almost like a custardy texture, even when it's baked. So it's super moist and I think a lot of Southern cornbread can be a little dry, which I love it all, but it makes it a little more moist. And I highly recommend using the best cornmeal that you can find, preferably from a small mill, because a lot of the cornbread that you buy at the supermarket does not have hardly any flavor. It's good made with anything, but I think if you can find a better cornmeal, it tastes that much better. Buttermilk is a non-negotiable. You got to use buttermilk in the recipe. And if you're not sure how to use up the rest of the buttermilk left over, I recommend making what I think of as redneck breakfast cereal, which is like you crumble up the stale cornbread in a glass and you put buttermilk on top of it. And then you eat it like cereal. And that's how my grandfather would eat leftover cornbread. I think it's delicious. Put a little salt and pepper in there, or you could go sweet, like put a little honey in there or something. You're looking at me like,
I just don't know why it's called redneck breakfast cereal.
I think of it as that. It's very like rural South, like a food habit that I grew up with, and everyone that I've ever met has been like, "You do what now?"
I think of it as the same thing as like people would do that with like cake, like leftover cake. They would just have it for breakfast in that way.
Yeah.
But you do
Same
with cornbread.
concept. Yeah.
Same idea.
What about you, Claudette? What's the sleeper recipe in your cookbook?
Well, I think the jericaya. I think that the jericaya is one of those sleeper hits that I grew up eating, and I just cooked it for a demo that I did for Mother's Day Breville. And I talk about the history of it or the story of it, but I always, when I eat it, these floods of memories come back of being at my aunt's restaurant, being like the quality control police of the jericayas when they would show up in the restaurant. But I think we're so accustomed to having heavily sweetened things, similar to like the cornbread and buttermilk, like that is very savory by nature, and you're going to have to add honey to it, or the strawberries and crema, and you add sugar to it. So jericaya like starts in a very neutral, it's an egg custard. It is sweetened, but not heavily. And you can add the toppings, but I think that like burnt skin on top, which gives it a very ubiquitous burnt Basque cheesecake kind of flair to it. The char of the top gives the earthiness to the custard, which is sweet. And then I do a little like a fruit compote on the side. But I just think that if we broaden our horizons and think what creme brulee's cousin would be from, another world, the jericaya, it's so decadent and delicious, but light because it's not super sweet. More people need to know about jericayas and making them. It's not hard. I make it in a toaster oven. Like, it's very easy.
Everyone has to get your book after listening to this. Sarah.
My sleeper recipe from Joy is pickled okra. I've made it for you guys. Well, because we had okra this year at the farmer's market. One of our farmers brought it for the first time. People don't usually grow okra here because it's not, I know you're used to eating it in the South, but Pacific Northwest, people don't really eat okra. But when I made the pickled okra, everyone loved it at your New Year's party. So that's my sleep. And that recipe was from Joy. So
Yeah, pickled okra is great. And it's not, if you're a little averse to the slimy stuff, pickled okra is really
when you
not
pickle it, it
slimy
doesn't
at all.
get slimy. No,
Yeah.
not at all.
And in honor of strawberry season, this week's Joy Scouts recipe is strawberries cockaigne on page 178. If you make that recipe, please tag us on social media. We're on Instagram at The Joy of Cooking. We would love to see what you make.
Make that recipe as in like eat those strawberries.
Yeah, exactly. A one-step recipe. If you have a cooking question or joy story to share, call our hotline at 503-395-8858. Leave us a message or send us a text. We'd love to hear from you. Dirk, can you please read or play the next caller question?
Always looking for more vegetarian recipes to pack for work.
Awesome. Great question. We will talk about packable vegetarian recipes next time. All right. What's everyone cooking this week? What are we planning?
I accidentally got delivered a giant, but it's so dumb. I got 100 pounds of potatoes delivered.
Oh.
It was a mistake. It came in with our groceries, and I can't do anything with my hot sauce business with potatoes at all. There's absolutely nothing I can do with these potatoes, but it got delivered with like our vinegar that we get. And I tried to return them. I can't return food. So I have to cook a lot of potatoes. My mom, I know. My mom works at the food bank, volunteers at the food bank, and I was like, "Mom, I have all these potatoes. Can you take them?" And she was like, "All we have is potatoes. Like, I can't take them." And so I have to cook a lot of potatoes.
I'll take 5 pounds if that's healthy.
Maybe you should invest in a still.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I'm gonna do all the things, all the potato things, everything. Yeah.
I add potato to my vegetable escabeche. So the recipe in the book for the pickled veggies, I do potatoes in there, and it's amazing on a chicken tostada.
I'm going to do it. Yeah.
What about you, John?
I'm going to be grilling something. I think there are some options in here.
Yeah.
Lots.
Yeah, there's lots of options. We've hit grilling season weather, so that's very exciting here.
Speaking of, there's one quote from the book that I really like. It's where it's like anything that's grilled over charcoal, it's like there's a secret that's been imparted into the food from the charcoal. I like that.
Oh, yeah, I like that. That's really good.
Yeah.
What are you thinking about cooking this week, Claudette?
I am getting ready to hit the road. So generally that means the kids can ask for anything. And so tonight I have to rush home and make albondigas. And then tomorrow we're going to go through like the repertoire of Mexican favorites for the kids. As soon as I leave, then they'll go to spaghetti, then they'll go to Chinese food and take out for sure. But tonight albondigas, tomorrow probably pozole. Haley really wants pozole. So it depends on how much is left over. We might have leftovers tomorrow or the pozole will roll to Thursday.
Yum. And before we wrap, Claudette, where can listeners follow you?
I pretty much live on Instagram currently. So at Claudette Zepeda is my Instagram handle. And that is the fastest way to get a hold of me, or shoot me an email, chef@Claudette if you have any cooking questions or, book tours. But I hope to see everyone on the road. I'm super excited. It's going to be, the 2nd of June, I'll be in the Columbus Square Circle store at Williams-Sonoma in New York City. And there's a DJ, there's going to be food. So I hope everyone comes out. It's going to be a blast.
Yes, everyone should go to a book event and pre-order the book. And we'll make sure to put links to everything in our show notes for listeners. Thanks for listening to the Joy of Cooking podcast. Before we go, show some love for your favorite podcast by subscribing to the show and leaving us a review. Follow us at joyofcooking.substack.com and on Instagram at The Joy of Cooking. Stay tuned for next week where we'll talk about vegetarian lunch recipes. And don't forget to make this week's recipe, strawberries cockaigne, on page 178. Call in with questions, hopes, history, or where you find joy in the kitchen. Our number is 503-395-8858. That's 503-395-8858.
And we couldn't do this without our fantastic team at Joy of Creation Production House. Thanks to today's producer, Dirk Marshall, and Haley Bowers, our audio engineer. If you love the stories we bring you each week, please consider supporting us on Patreon. As an independent media company, your support is absolutely essential. It allows us to continue creating high-quality professional episodes that amplify the voices of women, small business owners, writers, artists, and creatives, and keep their stories free from commercial pressure. By becoming a Patreon member, you're not just supporting us, you're investing in the future of independent media. Please visit patreon.com/The Joy of Creation Production House to join our community today. Thank you for listening and supporting our podcast dreams.